In this problem, let's jump down past the first part. It's pretty straightforward. Um, we don't need to get that up there. We know the idea is that we have to plug the number -7 in for x in this formula, and we get 121 in this case. And the only thing to be careful about there is that you're using the minus sign correctly. And as I said in class, the key to doing that is to make sure that you put parentheses around the -7 when it replaces the x, because now it's a more complicated expression than just a single number or letter. So we also see that here with f of -x. When we replace the x's in the definition with -x, I'm going to introduce parentheses for each one. So I'm not going to write 3 minus x squared without parentheses. I'm just going to write 3 and then in parentheses minus x squared plus 4 times parentheses minus x plus 2. So if I do that, be careful that I'm adding parentheses because I'm now putting in something more complicated. Now all I have to do is make sure I resolve the parentheses correctly. Negative x squared is really negative x times negative x, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So negative x squared is the same as x squared. This is plus 4 times minus x, so that's going to be a negative minus 4x, and then plus 2. So let's enter that into the computer. So 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. Oh, whoops. Sorry, it's plus 2. Forgot the problem from the other screen. Right, that's what we typed. Now we have this problem. Let me grab that on my other screen. So in this problem, it's asking for negative of f of x. So it's not asking us to do anything to the f of x part. F of x is just literally this piece. All it's doing is putting a minus sign in front. But again, I don't put parentheses on the f of x normally because it doesn't really need them. But if I'm going to replace the f of x with something more complicated, like this guy, then when I make that substitution, I want to use parentheses. So the minus sign is going to stay the minus sign. But now instead of f of x, I'm going to write all this stuff, but I'm going to write it in parentheses. Which means this minus sign goes through the parentheses, and I'll have negative 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. See if I can type it correctly this time. Minus 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. Again, well, let me get this on my other screen. Whoops. That is not what I meant to do. Grab this. Okay. So f of x plus h, again, the single letter x here is now going to be replaced with x plus h. And since x plus h is more complicated, I'm going to make sure that when I replace the x's here with the new expression, I'm going to put that expression in parentheses. So I'll have 3 times parentheses x plus h squared plus 4 times parentheses x plus h plus 2. So I've literally changed these x's into something else, but because the something else is complicated, I've left those things in parentheses. Now I just have to resolve all of these parentheses to simplify. So I want to make sure I know here that I'm going to do FOIL to rewrite this thing, because x plus h squared, something squared, is just the thing multiplied by itself. So x plus h squared means to do this multiplication, x plus h times x plus h. If we do first, outer, inner, last, then we'll have 4 terms, and the outer and inner term will both be x times h. So I have x times h as the outer and x times h as the inner. So for that reason, when I square something, I'm going to get the first thing times the first thing, which I would write x squared. The outer and inner are identical. They're both x times h, so I'll just write 2x times h. So the outer and inner are being combined there. And then the last times the last is just h squared. So that'll happen every time you square something. You're going to get the first thing squared and the last thing squared. And then you're going to, in the middle, have this term that's twice that outer inner term from the FOIL. Here I can multiply the 4 through, so 4x plus 4h, and then plus 2. And so finally I got to multiply this 3 through its parentheses, 3x squared plus 6xh, right? Each term inside the parentheses is getting multiplied by 3. Like that. And now I would see, can I simplify this? And the answer is not really. Can't really simplify that. So I would have to type that just as it is. There's no two terms here that involve the same exact same variables. There's not 2 with x's. There's not 2 with x squareds. So that's all I'm going to get. It's just one big expression. So let's go back to the other screen and enter it. So I have 3x squared. I have 6xh, 3h squared, 4x, 4h, and 2.